I don't actually remember how to do this even now. Audio is off now. Everybody's hearing me
Ah,
me just vamp and oh, there you go. It's in a different spot. They moved the button. Hey, we are live here on Plus One
hey.
EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicinda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that's passionate about helping amazing designers find great players who love their games and helping great players find amazing designers whose games they can love. We do that in a lot of different ways, but this year, all year long, we are sitting down and talking about and inviting people to show us their moves. Our annual theme this year is making hard moves, regardless of things that have happened this week in the world. It's a hard time to be alive right now, and we wanted to inspire people to do one intentional and irrevocable thing this year in their lives and invite them to reflect on powered by the apocalypse design in some way, shape, or form as part of that process, just because we think it's a great format to do that. We partnered up with my good friend Aaron King. Aaron, you want to introduce yourself?
You just did it. I'm
Well, I
good.
mean, give people a little bit more juice.
Uh, that's it. No, I am Aaron. I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So if I seem a little weird today, that's why. We're not going to get into it, but that's why my brain is blank. I am sometimes game designer.
There we go. Designer of some of my favorite games, Patchwork World, constantly in my top three games of
Thank
all
you.
time. That's where it lives. And then every apocalypse starts somewhere. The one we're going to be talking about for most of this year started with Vince and Meg Baker. Do you want to introduce yourselves? I don't know if y'all have a way you typically do it. Y'all are a tag team in a number of ways. So I'm going to pass it over to you to tell people a little bit about who you are.
Um, cool. I'm Meg Baker. I write games and talk about games and a lot of other things. Storytelling, world building, consent and agency. That's where I live.
Awesome. Love it. Super excited to have you on. Vincent?
I'm Vincent. I make some games sometimes. I We've been doing this for a million years now since somebody asked when our first one was, and it was the cheap and cheesy fantasy game in 1999. So we have been doing this for a lot of years.
Mhm.
Um, you know, Making games is fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
Games fun. You heard it here first. No, when I mean when we can
I don't care
see,
what the haters say.
no matter what they say, um, they keep on showing up to play them, no matter what they say. No, I know that when Aaron and I started talking about who we wanted to have on this year, there was no question about whether we wanted to have y'all on. It was just could we get you for the first one was our real big hope, and so I'm
That's
super
good.
glad we were able to make this happen.
Oh, it's
The
our pleasure. It's absolutely our pleasure. Thank you for having us on.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks for asking.
I know that we have met in passing at a number of different things like
Hmm.
everybody does, but I really got to talk with y'all at Metatopia and we had just had our Make Hard Moves hats come in. So I got
Hmm.
to kind of pound say, hey, we're just doing a theme this year about making moves with Aaron. And it was really great to just talk with y'all briefly. I do want to say I will start with one of the things I love most about you, which I think a lot of people know, but I, just observing it as someone who has some affinity in their background with y'all, but also comes from a very different place in the world in a lot of ways. Also, the amount of care you give the RPG community in space, and specifically the people who are right in front of you at events that y'all are at, is pretty singular and unique. It's really beautiful to watch the way that y'all intentionally set aside time for small designers. I know people on our team like Quinn who have just got to spend a short conversation with each of y'all come away just feeling better about the work that they're doing and making games in a very short period of time. It is a distinctive gift where y'all will sit down and have host breakfast with people at conventions, spend small time talking to each other, spend a lot of time at LobbyCon, and the way that y'all nurture the entire community in a way that really isn't parasocial. Like y'all look for ways to do it in person is tremendous and is incredibly lacking. And I think it also comes from a lot of the ethos of the games y'all design and the way y'all are an extension of y'all's home, right? Jay
Hmm.
Dragon is one of my very good friends, and the first time I ever really heard about y'all beyond just knowing you designed games was from Jay, who has inherited some of that experience and had some lived experience of that, and gone to LARP camp and played Under Hollow Hill before it was a book, right? And so this is something that cascades out across things. So when I say there was no question about whether we wanted y'all on first, like there's an amount of deep gratitude that I have for the type of work y'all are doing above and beyond just design in actually caring for people in the RPG space. And this move, even though like making hard moves is a fun, like challenging thing, and there's cool merch we've made, stuff like that. The reality is the invitation and play that y'all create to make moves and to be intentional, and the way that's paralleled in y'all's lives and in the way that you do things seems very resonant. I just wanted to express some gratitude off the top for that. With that said, Aaron has an outline for today's conversation, but I'm going to start us off.
We've chucked it.
I did. I'm going to start us off with a very simple question. So it's really funny. I was introducing this theme to a designer who's relatively new in indie RPGs. They've been doing it for a couple of years. They have a couple of games, but they just haven't read as much and played a lot of games. Have a very different design focus. And I told them about the theme and this invitation to the jam we're doing for people to just make a move sometime this year. And they were like, "What is a move?" And I tried to explain it to them. I don't know that I did a good job. But they were like, "Oh, so just vibes?" And I'm like, "No, not not at all." And I wish I had remembered what it actually said in Apocalypse World Second Edition, because it's actually pretty direct and easy to explain. But in y'all's own words, like, what is a move? Like, when we're talking about making a move in PBTA and powered by the Apocalypse games, what are we talking about?
Well, so what you're about to learn about me is that I can't answer a question. All I can do is ramble for a while and then ask if I've answered it. Um, so we used to call them, back in the Dungeons and Dragons days, we used to call them subsystems, or I guess I'm conflating stories here. So we used to call them subsystems. A move is a really tiny subsystem, and that's sort of all it is. One of the inspirations for moves was okay. Apocalypse World was born at the Forge, and for those of you who don't know, which I have no idea, for those of you who don't know, that was a web forum where we made games all the time. We would get in arguments, and sort of the culture of the Forge was that if you disagreed about something, you would make a game to argue your side and present, here's my game, here's the position it takes on this question. One of the fashions at the Forge, at the end of the Forge, was for single unified conflict resolution systems. Right.
You should maybe put a date on that. Like, we're talking like 2005.
Yeah, the Forge ran from 2001 to 2012. The time period I'm talking about is, we started writing Apocalypse World in 2008. So I'm talking about 2006 to 2008, roughly. And oh my God, you asked what a move was, and now I'm telling you
this is great. You're doing a great job. This is what we're doing. This is why I said somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes. You're good. We planned for this.
All right, good. So the fashion at the time was for unified conflict resolution systems, where any conflict between two characters. So the conflict I love to talk about is, I like to say, in my life, there's this conflict in my life, which is that I want the kids to take the trash out on Sunday night, and they don't want to, right? So the Forge fashion was to have a dice system for resolving conflicts, no matter what they were. And no matter what moves you were making in a conflict. And I hope that's a hint there. No matter what moves you were making in a conflict, you would use the same dice system. And a bunch of my games, a bunch of our early games do that. Dogs in the Vineyard almost has a unified conflict resolution system. In a Wicked Age does. Poisoned almost does. Siren does. Almost. Siren almost does.
Siren, yeah, Siren almost does, not quite does. I have a
wait.
You can finish your answer.
I gotta quickly, I can get right there. So a move is in a way a rejection of the unified conflict resolution system. And it says that every move you make in a conflict, if I raise my voice to the kids to get them to take the garbage outside, or if they pout, or if I leave passive aggressive notes, none of these are things that actually happen. I say, "Hey kids, would you put the garbage out?" And they say, "Yeah." Okay. But whatever those moves are, each one deserves its own attention. It deserves attention to how it can go differently from how all of the other possible moves could go. Like if I leave passive aggressive notes, that has a range of outcomes and it draws on a range of forces that I can bring to bear that are different from the range of outcomes and range of forces that I can bring to bear if I yell, for instance. And so that is what a move is. It's a move in a conflict that deserves its own moment of attention from us. What do you got there?
A move is a way to address a loaded situation.
I love it.
That's
But if all of your answers were
really
that
good.
short, we wouldn't make it to 60 minutes. We would be done in 20.
Yeah.
So
We'll hit that 20-minute mark and you'll be going, thank God Vincent was rambling all that time.
Yeah. Roger in chat says, "Open your trash can to the psychic maelstrom."
You don't want to do that. That's raccoons, right? That's how you get raccoons.
That's how you get raccoons.
Anyway,
brain raccoons.
Psychic raccoons, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and I reread because Aaron and I dealt with our anxieties of the day in different ways. Mine was to reread large sections of Apocalypse World Second Edition.
Mhm.
But in there, a move is in order to do it, right? Like,
Yeah.
which is such a great pared down way to say, hey, in order to do the thing, you do this thing, and it is actually incredibly helpful. Regularly, I will talk to people about what systems they like, what designs they like. Some people, I know this is going to be shocking to y'all, it was shocking to me, are like, oh, I don't like Powered by the Apocalypse systems. And I'm like, oh, what do you not like? They're like, well, I love Apocalypse World. And I'm like, cool. Okay. But one of the things is just the clarity, and even going back through and looking at the move structure work that y'all did at the back end of second edition, that's incredibly helpful. There's a lot of things that a move can be, and one of my things about Aaron is the way that they take individual moves and give moments that like Vince, I love what you were talking about with like it gives the moment the specific attention that it deserves. I think that's the thing I love about the way that Aaron writes these standalone moves that inspired a lot of what we want to do, invite people to do this year, is to say, here's a thing I want to give a distinct amount of non-uniform attention. And I just want to explore that in a really distinctive space. And Aaron's way of just presenting those as standalone things from time to time has always just captivated me as a really beautiful part of design.
It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing Aaron does. Yeah.
And so let's all talk about how great Aaron is.
No, it's just straight out like, I mean, it's in Apocalypse World and it's in Under Hollow Hills as well. Like each of those moves is a conflict. Like it could be an episode of a television show on its own. And so just reading, I remember the first time I read the Battle Babe move of just like choosing who will live and who will die. And that, coming from a tradition of Dungeons and Dragons or whatever, when you're mother may-ing for every little +1, to just be able to declare something like that. And I've run Apocalypse World for other people, and they just say like, should I be able to do this right at the start of the game? Like, isn't that too powerful? And it's like, the power of the narrative like lies on you as this character in this game. And to read that opened my brain, and I like can't believe anyone would read that and not see some measure of poetry in those moves. So I don't feel like I like originated any of this. I just feel like it added to the compost bin in my brain, and it's just been stewing in there, and I'm so happy that it's in there. So
I think that's quite an interesting situation, where people come to a game or come to anything really of with that sense of like, can I do this? Is it okay if I do this? Especially when it's an it's an imaginative space, right? It's the same as if you pick up a pencil and put it on paper. It's like, is it okay if I draw this? Yes. But what if it's bad? Great. You know, that's great. Do more.
That
You
is one
know,
of the possible outcomes
yes,
if
it
you do
is.
it.
It is. It is
Uh,
definitely true. To do it, right?
yeah.
And I think that, and I know that we have a lot more to do, but one of the things that I think is interesting about that is the way that role-playing games are their imagination, right? We have to be creative in our imagination. And there's a lot of things in the world that have a direct um, agenda to stifle somebody's imagination. You know, make them work within the box, make them color within the lines, make them follow do this little thing. And so giving just that thing of giving people permission to just imagine that you could do awesome stuff. Why would you not want to imagine that you could do awesome stuff?
We've had
You
so many
do it.
people in history like fighting for the agency that we have now.
Yeah.
To not utilize that agency feels like kind of an insult to those people. And so I like that idea of I had an English professor in college and he was trying to explain existentialism. And he said, there was an episode of The Simpsons where an ant farm was in a space shuttle and a rock broke the ant farm and an ant floated in zero G and said, terrifying freedom. And I think the freedom is a component, but it is really scary sometimes to be said or to be told, go forth, do whatever you want. And
Yeah.
so I think
Yeah.
games and games rules can be a nice handhold from the ant farm out to the zero G space ant. So
I love it. I we have a good question from chat from Dev the team, and I think this goes into even some of what we are exploring as we start to talk about like hard moves and why they matter. A lot of what we asked Aaron to kind of explore in the little zine we put together this year. Um, how would you articulate the difference between GM moves and player moves, right? Because they are two different segments. And in a lot of ways, the GM is responding to the players, but they are making rulings and a lot what we would call in the OSR rulings about, hey, here's the move I'm going to apply in this situation. When we talk about hard moves or
Yeah.
GM moves, how would you differentiate those from player moves?
Well, I have, I'm going to give my answer, and it might be me rambling this time and then Vincent going to the rules. But so for me, um, the way I differentiate is that my moves as the MC is a lot like those tour guides who know the space so well that they can walk backwards through it, right? You're all the people on the tour, and you're like looking at stuff and asking questions, and I'm watching for where you're engaged and what makes you go, huh? And so I am making moves that respond to you, right? So that I can follow your lead and like throw stuff at you that continue to bounce off of. My work as an MC is is I view that a lot, and like most every game I run, but particularly in Apocalypse World and under Hollow Hills and Run, where I'm just walking backwards and I'm like laying like, okay, we want to go here. Okay, great. Here's a move. You know, what are you going to do with it? Oh, cool. All right, I caught it. Now we're going over here. Whereas the player moves, those are the ones who are stepping forward. You know, like I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. You're the one driving. You're the driving the bus from that end. That's how I distinguish the two. Um, and it helps me as a MC to be sure that I am in reaction and building on what the players are doing, um, including that piece in Apocalypse World where it says, you know, when they all turn to you expectantly. That's when I'm like, okay, great. That's still direction. That's still me saying, oh, now it's time to say something cool and apocalyptic, right? Because it's that back and forth with the fictional with the ball of imaginary fiction. That's my answer. What do you have, Vincent?
Yeah, the text in Apocalypse World in particular, the text doesn't acknowledge this, but when the players turn to look at you, it's because there's a question that's hanging in the air.
Yeah.
And when um, I'm going to say just a tiny bit about Meg's and my working relationship, our working process, um, which is that one of us will have an idea for a game, and it's that person's responsibility to develop it to the point where they can effectively communicate it with the other. And from there, both of our hands are on every game. But so for Apocalypse World, uh, I did all the first drafts. I um, it was my initial design. And so when I talk about the process of designing Apocalypse World, often I'll say when for instance, I'm about to say when I wrote the MC moves, because I was the one who happened to do that. And then it became a collaborative thing, but um, that initial draft, that first draft was mine.
Well, it's like you said
Um,
about the forge, right? That you can't say to me, here's how here's how it works without having written a draft.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And then I'm like, and then as soon as there's a draft, it's a collaborative effort. Sorry, go ahead.
But so when I sat down and listed out the MC moves, I just did my best to think of every single thing I do every single thing I could think of that would be a good idea sometimes in a game. Um, there was a question, it's died down a little bit now, but a question that we were asked all the time was, is this list meant to be exhaustive, or is it meant to be restrictive? Like how, and it's not meant to be restrictive because I just listed every single thing I could think of. Like, if I missed something, then you should add it to the list, for goodness sake. But uh, what it's there to do is to remind you that there are more things for you to choose from. When you're like, oh no, I don't know what to say. There's a list of interesting things you could say that would not necessarily be the first thing you thought of. And I spend a lot of time, when I'm running Apocalypse World, I will just scan that list and choose something that that sparkles off the list in that moment as something I wouldn't have thought of. So, the player moves are things that I want to do as a player. When I'm playing the Battle Babe, I really want to say, no, that person's dead. That person, if it's possible, that person's dead. Um, because I'm weird, that person is dead. I know they're dead, right? I can smell the death coming off of them. Um, but so the player moves, the playbook moves, and the basic moves and the extended moves, all the are things that I want to do as a player. And the MC moves are just things I want to do as an MC, things I want to remember to say as an MC.
Love it.
Because of the way that game um, divvies up those responsibilities. I mean, that's what creates that move list for the MC. Um, but if you were to divvy up responsibilities in a different way, you would approach your GM moves, if there's even is a GM, very differently. And I want to make sure that that's part of the conversation, that way of approaching GM moves is, to my mind, very particular to Apocalypse World. It's just sort of a coincidence of how Apocalypse World works. What I mean is, the reason that list is the way it is because Apocalypse World assigns responsibility, divvies responsibility to the players and the GM in this particular way. It's not a universal. Not every game should have GM moves that work like Apocalypse Worlds.
Yeah.
Those are particular.
Yeah. I want to hand things over to Aaron in just a second to talk a little bit more about your body of work under Hollow Hill. Get in some real good Aaron shenanigans. I've got one more question from chat that I think is a good pickup to kind of close out this section. Roger,
right.
we're gonna hold on to your question till later because I think it'll have a better spot a little bit later. But if we're getting towards the end and I haven't asked it yet, feel free to ping me in chat to remind me. But Doc asks in the chat, They've seen a lot of folks recently come to PBTA and start playing in Powered by the Apocalypse games for the first time, and they all seem to hold a belief that Doc feels is incorrect, which they should never name moves while they are playing. Doc's understanding is that as a GM encouragement that you do not name your moves, but that players should say the things they're trying to do, especially if it's not clear that people
Yes, please.
are trying to do them.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
we're not mind readers. Like nobody's mind reading. Your character, you may have a weird character that open their brain and like peer into people's brains, but please do tell me what move you're doing so that I can, as your MC, I can respond appropriately and know what you're trying to do. Um, the like don't say its name thing. And
oh,
Vincent, I know you're gonna. Do you want to? Uh, like for me, it's a reminder that it needs to be in the fiction. It needs to be grounded in the fiction. It's not. I don't want to get into a place where we're just doing a meta, and I say, "Oh, I'm gonna take away your things." Okay, you know.
yeah, yeah. I
I
mean,
want to
Dremmer takes away your things,
drama. Yeah, right. I want to
right?
say, while you're distracted over here, I see that things have not gone well for you on this dice roll, and you didn't notice that Drummer just walked off with that 5-gallon bottle of water that you were really counting on. I want to do that instead of, oh, I guess I separate you. I guess I'm gonna take away your stuff. I love the part when I do something like that and a player names the move to me because they're familiar with the game. They're like, I love that because that means that we all know what just happened, and how it went, and that's great because that's another way that everybody is engaged and supported and on the same page. Nobody feels like I'm just like as an MC, I'm not just like oh you missed your role and now like I've done something crappy. They're like you just separated us. Crap, and they love it because they know. And then other people at the table who may not be familiar with play learn that and understand that. So to Doc's question, yes, please say, as players, please say you can do the same thing, um, but in terms of telegraphing your move to your MC, but your MC has to know what list to look at, right? If you don't tell me what move you're making, I don't know where to be. Don't make me guess. What?
Yeah. And
That's just
y'all,
not.
if y'all are running games you've designed, you might remember most of it, but there are some people out there who don't. And if you're running a game you didn't design, you may not know the move that's on that
Yeah.
person's play sheet. Like you may
Exactly.
need them to tell
Please,
you the
yes.
thing they are trying to do.
Yes.
I think there are some later PBTA or early PBTA games that tried to position the fictional reality of that a little bit more strongly, and that's where some of that confusion came from. I think Apocalypse World's really clear about the GM sidedness of that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it's uh yes. We are continuing to work on that text. Like if you know Under Hollow Hills very well, the parallel text in Under Hollow Hills says you choose your NPC's move, and then you can either say it out loud or you can just describe what happens.
Mhm.
And Apocalypse World could have said that instead of never name your move aloud. It could have said that. Whether third edition will say what Under Hollow Hills says,
That
or
remains to be seen.
we'll see the rhythm of the paragraph when the
Yeah, and the
that
space on the
that
page.
afternoon comes in the space on the page.
Yeah.
But I was actually hearing from somebody about players never naming their moves, who was talking who oh no, I'm gonna have to look this up. I don't remember the
Okay.
details. Um what they said was that everyone blames Dungeon World, but that's not quite where it is.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think
because I
I
was
think
blaming
Dungeon
I
World
was
text
blaming
is
Dungeon World.
less
Yeah.
explicit, and I think it's also easy for a lot of people to blame a lot of the time. But I
Yeah,
think it does get an unfair rap because I do think it
Yep.
is I think it is less clear, but reasonably clear that it is fine for players to name moves also too.
But
Um,
there was some influx of players from, I can't remember whether it was an edition of D&D or a sub culture of D&D or something, who brought that. This person that I was reading happened to have been there when they brought that idea. And it began as a convenience. No, you don't need to know the rules in order to start playing. Just say what your character does, and it'll be my job to keep track and point you to the moves. And I do that all the time as the GM when I'm running Apocalypse World for new people.
Hmm.
All the time, I'm like, "Ooh, do you have a move? You might want to look at your sheet. You
yeah,
have. I think you might be.
be
I think
trying
you
to
might
do
want to
one of
tell me
these
who's going to
things.
die and who's going to live. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, ooh, check this out. Check this out. But um, But no, we named them moves and we put them on your sheet by name so that you could choose them and say them. That's
Yeah.
um
Yep.
in Apocalypse World in particular, it doesn't matter whether you name the move or I do. Somebody has to name the move. I'm the GM in this story. Somebody has to name the move so that we can read it and roll the dice and understand what's
Mm.
happening. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it's you or me. Um, in like under Hollow Hills, it would obviously be you. It would obviously nearly every single time be you. And then in some of our other games, even more so. You know, the Wizard's Grimoire games, for instance. There's just no way for the GMs, if that's what they are, to even know what you're doing.
No, I
Um,
love that game. That's like
Exactly.
even more walking backward in front of a tour group, but
but so in Apocalypse World, like you can get away with that for a while. Um,
Mhm.
but it really is much easier if you just communicate what you need. And the third edition is going to be very explicit about that.
Mhm.
It says you're responsible for choosing your moves and naming your moves and agreeing what your moves are. The GM can suggest moves to you, but if you don't want to make them,
Make a different
what it
one.
says, no, what it says is that um, hold on to your dice, don't roll your dice until everybody agrees what you're rolling,
Yeah.
Yes.
and by name.
That's one of my key PBTA power gamer moves is to roll my dice and then decide what move I was doing. That's
Ah.
way better for me. And so
I'm gonna design a game that works that way just for you.
excellent. Aaron, I've dominated way more of this conversation than I intended to do so far. Let's get into let's get weird. What do you got?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Under Hollow Hills. I feel like it
Yay.
came out, was it crowdfunded in like 2019
Yep.
and then came out around 2021, but it feels to me like sort of a victim of the lockdown era. I
Yeah.
don't think it got
Yes,
exposed in the way that it could have,
I
and
agree.
I think it got lost in a way that makes me sad. I wanted to talk,
Mhm.
I mean, when you were talking about the GM moves, the MC moves, I wanted to say like, no, in Under Hollow Hills, the MC gets to name the moves and the MC gets to
Yep.
make player moves, like basic
Yep.
Yeah.
moves. And I wanted to ask about differences of voice and genre. Like in the
Mm.
apocalypse, maybe the narrative is hidden, is buried, and this is drawing on fairy tales that are much more everyone has an equal share in ownership of them, and
Yeah.
everyone kind of knows the signposts. And did that affect the voice of
So the
Apocalypse World and Underhollow Hills both have such specific voices that are so
so the
different.
voice, this is very interesting because um the first draft of what became Under Hollow Hills, this is interesting and strange. I wrote the first draft, the first bits of what eventually became Under Hollow Hills had to be written in very specific conditions. Vincent wrote uh the Brainer playbook for Apocalypse World first. And that was like, he wrote the Brainer playbook and brought it to me and said, like this. And I said, yes. And so that's that beat. I, maybe part of it is that under Hollow Hills, I wrote the first bit. And the first bit had to be written longhand on a yellow legal paper at Emily and Eppie's house when it was raining.
Quill
Like,
pen.
no, I mean, it
No,
would
I know.
if I had a clue, but yeah,
Yeah.
pencil. I mean, it was bizarre. But I wrote the first bit, and the first bit of
But
Under Hollow Hills that I wrote really truly was in the voice of the Hob. And it's the Hob I mean, I haven't it didn't come into Under Hollow Hills word for word. But a lot of the moves came out of there. Different, like the feel of it is there from the beginning. Um, and it's written in the voice of the Hob, telling me as a, telling someone who's wandered into fairyland, hey, you know, I don't know what you're
Pay
doing here, but
attention.
you better listen, pay attention. I'm only going to tell you, only going to tell you once. Um, so yeah, it's a very different game, and it does definitely stem from, draws on a common uh, body of work. It also draws on a particular body of work because I am a native English speaker who grew up in New England, with Swedish and Scottish and Polish heritage. So it draws heavily on that. Um, uh, and Yeah, all the moves and everything else. There's so many weird little tricks and jokes and references in there that sometimes I don't even realize until after like we wrote them. I'm like, oh, hold on. It's my current favorite game. I really, really like it. I love that it has become a little bit of a body of work with The Wolf King's Son and In Dreaming Avalon, and that has these other little adjacent games that I didn't really expect, but I think it's wonderful. I don't know. Do you have a more specific question,
Well,
Aaron?
No,
I
I wanted you to
I
go
have
off on
something to
voice and
say.
then yeah,
I
please.
have something to say about the voice,
Sure.
which is that, well, particularly about what you were saying about the narrative being hidden or revealed, being hidden or
Right,
shared,
right, right.
which is um, that Under Hollow Hills is a game about collaborating entertainers,
Hmm.
which we are when we play
Yeah,
it. We
when we're
are
playing.
we are collaborating entertainers. We're collaborating to entertain ourselves and each other, and so there are lots of places where that appears in the game. Like calling for a line, for instance, is very much hey, let's
Let's step into the meta for a minute.
yeah, and where Apocalypse World does conceal and restrict and own
Mm.
uh, in a different way. This is
Hmm.
evidently what I'm trying to say.
It's
This my knuckles going
you're
side to side
butting
like that.
heads, and then it's
But
more.
but
This is showbiz, baby, versus this. It's a different vibe. Yeah.
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 Um, well, I mean, but there's a here, catch um thing that
Well,
happens in
no,
Under
like
Hollow
it's the
Hills.
in Under Hollow Hills, there's a ta-da! We're putting it all out there. And there's a difference in that in Under Hollow Hills, we're just playing with different things. We're looking at different things. We're looking at the um instead of looking at the like hardship and scarcity and intensity and like how do we make something with these pieces we've been left? How do we make something? We still cling to vision, we still have agency, we still have drive to make something of this world, which is Apocalypse World. Under Hollow Hills is like, did you know that there's magic right here? There's just we just all let's just pull back the curtain. It's right here. It's so close. Don't you want to come along? You know, it's it's those are so different. So obviously everything is going to be different about how the voice comes through, how the moves play out, how you MC the game, um, because they're just very, very different takes. I don't know how to say better than that.
Why are they called plays instead of moves?
Because like it's a game, right? How do you want to play it? How am I going to play this person? Do you want to, you know,
Are you playing it safe? Are you making a
Are
play
you
for it?
playing? Yeah. Are you? Yeah.
Um, why are they called plays instead of moves? I mean, that's sort of how you communicate the vocabulary is. Are
Yeah.
you playing it safe? Are you making a play for it? Or are you, how do
Yeah.
you want to play this?
You play a
But
person if you're,
you
yeah.
you play a person and like uh,
Yeah.
I don't have any experience of con games except watching movies about, the long con, right? Um,
Mm-mm.
but
Thank goodness.
but playing somebody, um, like that's evocative to me. And so we were at a little circus. So one of the things we've done in our lives is that we have arranged our lives so that many of the things we want to do are
We kind of have to do because
they're
we are doing
business
research,
obligations and business expenses. Like we have no choice. We have to go to the circus, right?
especially little traveling circuses where it's like a dozen people. That, yeah.
So we were at this little circus now almost 2 years ago. Can it really have been almost 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was in
Um,
2024. Yeah.
and uh, the clown Eric um, brought me on stage, and it was terrifying. But he played me so delicately, so
Yeah.
beautifully.
Yeah.
Um, looking back at the way he was about to ask me to do something terrifying and extremely vulnerable, right? Um, but the way he made himself so vulnerable at every step first so that I would feel like it was okay. It was beautiful. And,
Totally agree.
like to say that he played me is kind of a negative way to say what he did. Um, but like he did, he wanted something from me. He wanted me to do what he wanted me to do. And he uh, took like his approach was very sophisticated. He knew exactly what he was doing at every step.
But then there's
Like,
Um,
that
and
double.
like, including like picking the person from the
yeah,
audience. He chose the person based on what he was reading from you and receiving from you, picked you, played you in a collaborative way. I
yeah.
think that's the biggest thing.
And to say that he made a move, like that's
Hmm.
true, but like that's entirely like as much as him playing me is not doesn't characterize it
Hmm.
positively.
Hmm.
Him, making a move on me it characterizes it much worse, much
Yeah.
worse. And um
Because you could as easy say he made a play for your attention. He made a
he
play
did.
for your
Yeah. And,
generosity. He
and I
made a
And
play for
but
your,
but
you
but
know.
as beautiful as an experience, as beautiful an experience as it was, and as humane as it was, and um how the way he played me was by making himself vulnerable so that I would feel comfortable being vulnerable. Like as as humane and human as that was, I was a fish on a line. He was playing
Yeah.
me.
yeah.
Um
Well, and there's that beautiful double meaning of playing you. He also performed you. Like he took the
yeah.
steps of
Yeah.
vulnerability that he wanted you to follow. You performed each other as much as you played each other. And it's like when you said, I don't know anything about con games, I was going to say, no, I think you've run a lot of games at cons. Like, what are you talking about?
that's
Like, there are
that's
these
how I heard
fun,
first also too.
intricate,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Yeah,
double
no,
meanings of like,
of
I'm going
course.
to play you, meaning I'm going to take the steps that I want you to take, and
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
follow your
Uh,
steps as
and
well. It's
and
really
not to
nice.
add extra nobility to anything, but I do think there's a deep lesson to the type of play that PBTA invites, but that a lot of people are longing for. And
Mm.
like it doesn't sound like you resented this experience at all. Like that you were able to
Oh no,
still
highlight of my life. Yeah.
yeah, that you were able and I think that's so like here's the thing, like I don't think a violin like resents somebody playing it beautifully, but a
Mm.
violin doesn't have agency, and a person does. So when you're inviting a person into that space of that type of play, the question is, have they bought into this also? And you had. And that's also
Mhm.
what makes games so amazing is when we all buy into that same space.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, we are playing each other and we are in concert with each other. Like when we're giving into that, that's where that deepest level of beauty and resonance is really going to come from. I'm going to see how much wordplay I can do with music. The no,
Keep
but
going.
it
Beautiful.
it it
It's like
is
a
one of the
melody to
yeah
my
it,
ear.
it is one of the things that I think deeply matters and that gets at the mode of conversation that PBTA games and moves specifically are angling at of a and the other one of the other beautiful things is there's always that choice to buy in, right? Like there's that choice to pay the cost to do the thing, and then yeah, we all are gonna find out what happens. The beautiful thing is in most of the situations, the dice is deciding, right? So there are moves where there is you spend it, you do it, it happens, right? Like there is no dice,
Yeah.
but there is something that is guiding us through the outcome on that is outside all of us, right? And I think that illustration of somebody inviting you up and working you through that experience actually like is a really good table lesson also for how you invite somebody into that. And opening and leading with that vulnerability is so huge in that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I was going to say also about the vocabulary of moves and plays that uh if you imagine a situation of conflict between characters, right? Like your character wants something, my character is fighting them, like it's getting frustrated and intense. And if I say, "What's your move?" that means something. And if I say, "How do you want to play this?" that means something different. And it puts more agency on the player who's making the play, right?
Mhm.
Um, like a move is conflicted and playing someone or playing a situation indicates that there's play in the situation to bring in another meaning of the word,
Mhm.
you know. Um, uh, it would have been wrong for Apocalypse World, but I love it.
Uh,
I love the play vocabulary.
I also will say I love.
I was
Oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Oh, I was just going to say I was in this conversation with somebody one time who wanted to standardize vocabulary across PBTA games, and I was like, okay, I'm not the guy. I'm not with you on this one. And they were like, oh no, no, I just like I want moves to be called moves. I want stuff like this. And I'm like, in the games I make, we call them moves, we call them plays, we call them actions, we call them exertions, we call them like
It matters.
I'm
It's
really not your
different.
guy on this one.
It's
Yeah.
important that people let each thing be its own thing. Like the yeah. Anyway, okay.
The,
Go ahead,
So
Tony.
you
You
had a
were
along with
question.
that, the point I was going to make is I love the beautiful moments of ineffability that play comes up against, right? Like that's literally before you even said that. Like the I cannot put the thing perfectly into words. My computer screen just totally zoned out and stopped working, so I'm going to lean forward and deal with that while doing
We're
this.
getting intimate here. We're all leaning
Yeah.
forward.
But the reality is like Meg, I deeply loved a second ago like I loved Tada. Like that was like it was like it is a I can't tell you everything about it. It just kind of happens, but also it's this moment of magic. It's this review. I'll give you the closest thing I can to what it is, and that's Tada, and that is in so many ways more. There are ways that codification helps for a learner, but it is also really helpful just to be like, yeah, it's not a thing. I can just give you like it is to die, and you if you have had the experience of that reveal,
Mm,
know what I'm talking about. And if you
mhm.
hadn't, how can we help you experience that? Is the goal of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And like one of the things that's important there, I think, something you said in the little chat before, there's no gotchas, you know? We're not ever trying in any of our games, we're not trying to have a gotcha moment. We want you to have all the beautiful moments from all of our games. So we're rushing at you as fast as we can, saying, here's the thing, and here's the thing. And that's part of why like the language is the way it is. That's part of why all of the things in all the games. And when I say we, I started just talking about Vincent's and my games, but when I broaden that out, I mean all of our games, right? Ones that the two of you have made, that we've made, that everybody out there has made, and that there's a a vulnerability in the designer saying, I have done the best I can to communicate this game to you. I have chosen the words. I have put thought into the design. I have done the best I can. And please just trust that I've done the best I can. And there's then have a player come at that trusting that they're gonna find out. It's gonna be okay. Why is it called a game master here and a storyteller there and a master of ceremonies here and like whatever some other games that there's reason behind this. And I feel like there is a piece of that that can be glossed over. The people who play a lot of games love a lot of games, or people who really want all the games to be like in some like uh, giant perfect ordered system where they all click together like magnets and they all make it like a perfect shape. I'm like, it's none of that is true, but please just trust that we've done the best we can, and then play to find out. Like, don't you want to find out how it goes? So,
No,
yeah.
that's huge. Um, I'll pick up I held a move from chat earlier, and I held a
Yeah,
question from chat earlier. I'm going to pop in with while Aaron thinks about their next great question.
cool.
And because it had to do with other parts of your body of work. But Roger says their first love in your body of work is always going to be kill puppies for Satan. Uh, do you think people finally get what you were saying with that game? Which I, having not read the game, which is no whatever, I would love to hear. What are you trying to say with the game? And do you think people are getting it, or do you? If you don't
Oh,
want to reveal it, that's okay.
can,
Blah, blah, blah.
can I answer? Can I answer? I have an
No,
answer.
no.
It's not even the story, it's an
Oh,
answer.
yeah. Okay, go ahead.
The thing with Kill Puppies for Satan is that like even if you're like just like a really pathetic lowlife nobody nothing, you still want to go see your friend on his birthday. You know? That's I think that's one of the messages. Like there's a whole bunch we could talk about there, but part of it is like, doesn't matter how nothing burger it
That's
is.
that's
Still want to
that's
be friends.
that's very kind. That's very compassionate to that game.
Yeah,
It's
I know.
very, very generous.
Yeah.
Very generous to that game.
All right, now you can say your part.
Um, uh, so this is a story that I've told before, but I'll tell it again. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
that was the year 2000, give or take. I
Hmm.
think I think I finished it in 2001, but it was right around the year. Oh no, no, it must have been
No, it
2001.
wasn't. No,
Yeah.
because you wrote that in 2000 and you wrote that in the fall of 2000 in like September of 2000.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Hmm.
Um, uh, I was thinking about making games as a thing I might want to do with my life and trying to figure out this was before PDFs, this was before PayPal, this was before print on demand, this was way before social media. Um, the only way to make games in the dim distant past of the year 2000 was to either find a publisher or print it yourself on your wife's credit card and be in debt for the next 30 years while the book's molded in your basement. I'm talking about a friend of ours.
Yeah.
Um, but so I was trying to figure out if that was something I would actually be able to do with my life, and I signed up to playtest somebody else's game, and it was terrible. And this game never existed. I don't remember the name of it or who was involved or anything like that. I can't like spill any dirt on any people, but it was terrible. It was procedurally derivative, extremely boring, and then it was completely morally bankrupt. Um, it was like a modern day monster hunting kind of game, and it, it said even though trolls are sentient beings, they are considered an endangered species, so you can't just kill them with impunity. And I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Um, and so I wrote Kill Puppies for Satan as a flying salute to the idea of ever making games. It was my screw you to the idea of being a game designer. Um,
I mean, there is
and
an
that's how
important
that
note,
turned out.
but I think there's an important note there, right? Because when you wrote that, there was the game, and there was the fact that you know, our second kid was 3 months old, so you were looking at like, how can we, how can I make games and also, we have two little kids to take
Yeah,
care of.
and also
And
fulfill my
also,
responsibility. These
games
people
at
in
the
my life.
time, yeah, games at the
Yeah.
time meant going into massive debt, et cetera, so
And so like of all the games, like Kill Puppies for Satan really hates that game, but it really hates Vampire the Masquerade.
yeah.
And like, do I think people finally understand that Kill Puppies for Satan was throwing punches at Vampire the Masquerade? I don't know if people finally understand.
Now, whoever's listening to this is ever or
I
watches this
don't
ever,
know.
now they know.
Was it Roger? Is that who asked?
Roger asked. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
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 Roger, please feel free to ask a follow-up question. I don't know what people think Kill Puppies for
Is
Satan is
that
about.
is that what Roger thought? we don't. We should have made
Yeah, no,
Roger go
please.
on record first with what do you think it's about,
No,
Roger?
I
And
would
so,
love to answer Roger's actual question. Um,
If there's an
if you're
additional
still
one.
around, if you're here listening, Roger, please ask a follow-up. I would love to answer it.
yeah.
We
I
can
just think it's good you two are so generous and kind, but to find that there is like spite is such a powerful tool, I think. So to find some of that in you as well, it really humanizes the both of you for me,
I
or at least Vincent. Meg was
I
like,
I drew a chart one time. It was two poles. It was, hey, I want to show you something and I want to find something out, north south. And then east west was oh shit, I can't remember, pardon me. I can't remember what was opposite spite. Curiosity and spite, let's say. Um and lot of games over in the hey, I want to show you something spite column
I I do wonder if that
quadrant.
does that make Kill Puppies for Satan the earliest shitpost game that exists in RPGs? Is there an
I
earlier?
Yeah, oh no,
It's
there are some earlier
there are
ones.
definitely earlier ones, but I
Okay.
think of yours,
Kostikian's
yeah.
game Violence was
Oh,
before
that's
Yeah.
true. I
Kill
guess. Yeah.
Puppies for Satan. Human Occupied Landfill Hole was before Kill
well,
Puppies
and
for
I
I
Satan.
just never figured out that one's actually a shit post or just misconstrued. But
Oh,
There
it's
was
so
a
funny though.
there were in Buttery Wholesomeness there was this little pamphlet game um called Freebase that was
Freebase.
100% a shitpost and
there we
before
go.
Kill Puppies for Satan.
There
So
we go.
Yeah.
no,
All right.
I have no claim on the
Just
first.
helping codify the proud tradition of shitposting games into a new generation.
Totally.
Roger's response, I mean, yeah, it's very clearly a reaction or response to the power gamer sort of fantasy, and it seems like more mainstream games are kind of starting to embrace that depowered crapsack world sort of experience, like Mothership, I guess I'm thinking of. And so,
Oh, that's super interesting. I have never connected that. Wow, that's really interesting. The
also, Roger, good on you for
oh
not just saying, yeah, that's what I thought. Also.
no, that's great. Um, like Meg, we were just checking out this little OSR I'm making a couple of days ago, and like part of the game is you're you have failed at living a productive life in this medieval fantasy world, right? So yeah, no, that's a
It's really
solid
funny.
connection I had not made, Roger. That's really solid.
Love it. Uh, uh, excellent. Aaron, what you got?
no, I mean we're coming up on an hour. Do we want?
We're coming up on an hour. I have another follow-up question. It's a thing I hear a lot of the time that I want to talk about because I just find it to be completely untrue, but I feel like it's another misconception about PBTA and PBTA moves that I want to tackle. And that
Yeah.
is that Powered by the Apocalypse games are not good at violence. is a thing
Oh,
that
for goodness sake.
I will hear
What?
on a
This
regular
is
basis.
this is bullshit.
It is. Some of my
How dare.
favorite violent scenes have been PBTA games.
I ran a 30 session Apocalypse World game with two on opposite ends of the campaign, like the most tense fight scenes I've ever had in games. I will remember them forever. So whoever asked that, come at
it
me
is a
personally.
common thing I will
hold on.
hear. It is a
Let's just
common
let me
thing I
just
will hear in non-narrative and non-story game circles is that
Yeah,
people
no,
think this
no.
is not true.
I agree with this. I agree with this question.
Yeah. I am not agreeing with I think the question is ill-informed, but I think the better question
Oh no. I'm gonna go ahead and agree with the
Oh, you're
agree
gonna
with the
agree with the
question.
question? That's
I
great.
think there's a really solid basis for that.
Then how about
And I
this?
think
We'll modify it to: are there good ways to explore violence through PBTA games?
Yes,
there's yeah, like
absolutely.
so violence, right? Um, I haven't seen PBTA isn't good at violence. I've heard that it's not good at combat.
Hmm. Those are different things.
Those are different things, and I have heard both, but I think I have probably heard combat more, but violence more recently for some reason.
Because I think it would be really easy to make an obvious PBTA game that really nails violence, whatever your take on violence is. Violence is what I'm talking about here. Like, uh, there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of trauma informed PBTA already.
Hmm.
I think that a lot of PBTA games do take violence very seriously.
Yeah.
But not in a gamer combat kind of way.
Keegan just reminded me that this did come up in a conversation about Avatar Legends specifically in the chat, but we can dwell on that or not. But that's why violence came up specifically on that.
Well, that's interesting. What does Avatar Legends have to say about violence? Separate from combat. Like, what is it? Where is it failing to talk about violence?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. I think that is just the language that we may have used in that conversation. Like, is what Keegan has reminded me of why that one felt more recent, because it is a conversation we had last week around. Because Keegan's running a Avatar game at home as part of their home game system right now, so
yeah,
it comes up regularly. But it is one that I've sat down with people, and people are very confused about how they use powers and how they do, like, they don't know how to use the moves in the game when they sit down to do the game. They don't understand how to do combat in the game when they sit down. I don't struggle with any of that when I sit down to do it. But again, I've heard this common thread about combat, I think, early on, and then violence within the last year has been some of how that's shifted, and that may just be bad.
Interesting.
But yeah,
there's a thing
that's really interesting.
There's a thing there though that's important, I think, which is, again, each game is written differently.
Mm-hmm.
And that people that maybe having problems with how that's done in that game is different than, how if we were hearing that about Sagas of the Icelanders, which deals with violence in an incredible way, or Mashed, which is dealing with the after effect of violence in an incredible way, or Apocalypse World, which has its own take on violence. Those are like, each game is different. Monster Hearts does some amazing things with violence. Blades in the Dark, a lot of these games have ways that they talk about violence, and it's not just like, does it create a good scene? It's, what is that game saying? How is that game designer engaging with questions and concepts and ways that violence happens? And so that goes back to the design piece, right? Every designer who is going to have violence or conflict or combat in their game has to figure out how the best possible way that they can communicate that to their audience. And then they'll find out if it works.
Yeah, Roger's observation, maybe they're trying to say it doesn't do gamist well, is really
well,
good.
Yeah, like, I want to talk about violence just a teeny bit more before I talk about combat, because I have such a take on this. But for violence, I wanted to tell the most violent move in Apocalypse World, which is in one of the extended playbooks. It was the Water Bearer. You are able to inflict water deprivation on
De-harm.
it, de-harm water on a population. Like, holy. Anyway, and then I was going to tell my favorite violent move from Under Hollow Hills, which is the Witch's Bird move when you go for the eyes. And on a 10 plus both, and on a 7 to 9, choose left or right. I love that.
I also think it also depends on people only thinking violence is physical, right? Like, which I think leans a little bit more into combat and less into anything else. But I'll also say, like, I'm a huge Carve from Brindlewood fan, and in that game, like, as a hard move in a night phase, like, I've had Jason Cordova has floored me in games where I'm just like, I don't know what to do because you just shot a player in the head and described how the blood misted
a character, hopefully.
Yeah, character.
A character, not a player.
And the player was just one time.
Let's just be clear.
Yes, a character in the and like I'm just sitting because I'm forgetting that in that game it's just like, cool, someone's gonna mark a mask and we're gonna rewind and go and bump that up to a mixed success, so you can just be callously violent as a GM as a hard move response to the players and let them decide, okay, maybe that character is just gone now, or are we going to mark a mask, narrate something, and then move forward with a mixed success? But like I've also seen, I mean, I've had so many great Apocalypse World and Dungeon World and CFB, like the between game fight scenes where people really understand what are we rolling and then what are we narrating.
Why the heck are we here?
And it becomes very clear how both of those things can look in it. But yeah, I mean, again, there's a lot of things there. And like I said, violent more recently. Combat is probably the one I historically heard more regularly, which oftentimes I think is that about tactility. Like, are you wanting a tactical experience? Which that's not what we're doing here.
Well, so that this is what I want to say, which is that for a long time, back in 2011, 2012, 2013, something like this, the going wisdom was that PBTA was no good for superheroes. You could not make a PBTA superhero game. And then 3 or 4 or 5 came out. And then after that, you couldn't do PBTA science fiction. It just was not suitable. And then 3 or 4 or 5 came out. And I still see it sometimes for horror. I'm not sure horror has all the way broken out. But like that's obvious. You can do PBTA horror, that's obvious. But what that is that the conventions of Apocalypse World still have too much hold on that part of exploration, right? Nobody could do superhero PBTA because they were sticking too close to Apocalypse World in some way. And then a bunch of people broke that mold, and now their superhero PBTA is obvious. Like, everybody knows you can do superhero PBTA. So I think nobody's done the tactical combat PBTA yet.
Except for I will say, I fucking love Fist. I think Fist rips, and it's almost all combat.
Yeah,
I haven't looked at Fist. I'll look at it.
Oh, Fist is so good, and so
I know it's possible because of.
But Tovi and I are making one.
Oh yeah, Demon Tree.
The Demon Tree has great tactical combat, and there's always the danger that nobody's going to notice. Like, I haven't noticed Fist. Like, that's a legit danger. But that idea that PBTA isn't good for tactical combat is just waiting for somebody to notice.
Not a
exactly.
objective.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like once we talk about like Fist that's out there.
That's exactly the way to put it. Yeah.
And once we talk about Mashed that's out there and does the aftermath of tactical combat, but in a very tactical way. And then we talk about Demon Tree. And then it's like getting closer. Someone will do that soon.
I wish that the Regiment had come out. The Regiment was a really early World War
Well,
II kind of
what
Band
about
of Brothers game.
Ross Rifles is out
Ross
though.
Rifles.
Ross
I
Rifles,
do
yeah,
not
yeah.
know. I
Daniel
don't know how
Kwan,
Ross
never heard of
Rifles
him.
does
Go
does
vote,
Yeah.
go
combat.
vote
Like, I
for
don't know how it
Wandering
works.
Blades for most anticipated game of the year 2026 over on In World Publishing right now.
Yeah.
So
I don't know this. What's Wandering Blades?
it's not a PBTA game. It's Daniel's
Daniel's
Lucia
next
game
game.
that
Daniel Kwan.
we helped we're the publisher for. So
Oh, very cool.
it's
That's awesome.
I'll shoot you a quick start of a PDF of the quick start.
Nice. That'd be
So,
great.
I would love that.
Tell
I
him
would
I
love
said
that. Thank you
hi.
so much.
yeah. Excellent. Aaron, fill some time while I read whatever Keegan just wrote.
I'll run an awesome fight scene in Apocalypse World. Anyone, I'll take all comers. It's so fun. It's so good. And like flying circus is out there. Just
Oh, I forgot about Flying Circus.
yeah,
Another
there
one.
are so many good tactical. The
So what?
idea of being able to change a location as a result of a combat move is so fun. I've had people like tackle through plate glass windows of front storefronts, and all of a sudden they're separated, and it's drama, but it's tactics. Do I stay here? Do I change position? It feels so good, and I don't.
Yeah.
I'm just getting mad over here. I can't.
Okay,
I
well,
finished,
ask a different question. Oh, Tony, are you back?
I finished reading Keegan's half thought, which I think is a good is actually a thing I was interested in unpacking because I think it's really beautiful to
Okay.
hear y'all talk about it. Keegan says it's really interesting to them to hear how tied Apocalypse World to Apocalypse World's exact words and writing that other creators are. Versus how untied to its conventions the two of y'all seem to be. That's like
Oh, yeah.
Keegan's thoughts, but I think that's like I think it's really interesting because coming around some of this, like there's a lot of conversations around like people making SRDs and other stuff like that, and y'all have repeatedly talked about PBA being a design model and ethos and approach not intended to be rigidly systematic in the way that a lot of people are like,
My goodness.
just tell me where to put the words so I can put them there so I can put my version of your game out, right?
Yeah.
To not consider the invitation
It's-
that you'll have to them to design differently. Talk a little bit about that. Also, like I think it's really interesting if y'all have things you wish people would unburden themselves of as far as conventions. I'd love to hear those.
Yeah. I mean, my uncharitable thought is like it's not Mad Libs. It's not just replace. It's not just replace words in. You have to actually design it. You have to actually design your game. And I liked what you said that where it seems as though the two of us are the least bound by the conventions of Apocalypse World. And I think that's very easy because like we know we're inspired by our own work and we're building on our own work. And that's really all like the open letter to the apocalypse, open letter on the Apocalypse World says that like it's if what we've made is if we laid out a toolbox, and if you find the toolbox useful and you want to say, hey, this is powered by the Apocalypse toolbox, awesome. But like I've seen bits of like, oh well, that means you have to have 2d6 and you have to have playbooks and you have to have moves that are in this thing. I'm like, you don't get it at all. You know, there you have just play a lot of games, read a lot of games, and then ask like, what do you want to do? What do you want to make? What do you want to see? And then do that thing. Um, I am a textile conservation specialist. I work with textiles all the time. And I think about thread and fabric and clothes and that sort of thing all the time. And just the fact that we all get up in the morning every day and setting aside a uniform that we may need for many, many reasons, for work or school or whatever, we decide what to put on each day. And you go and you get things that fit you, that fit your aesthetic, that fit your budget. You make those choices and you do that. And like, please do that in your game design. Why would you be like, well, the bakers are wearing this kind of brand and this kind of clothes and these kinds of colors, so I need to. No, my dears, go play games and write your game. So it's a very interesting piece that the desire to write a game is bonkers, first of all. Like getting up in the morning and going, I think I'm going to write a game today. Or getting up at 3 in the morning because you have a game design idea that you have to write down right now, because that happens. That's some wild behavior. Um, and like just the idea that you have to do yours like anybody else does. Like I can't design like other people do. I am terrible at that. There's this whole conversation that's been happening recently about the industry that is baffling to me. And I'm just going to rant about this for a tiny
Do it.
second. Forgive me. I don't know who the heck they mean because I don't know anybody who is hiring people. Like I don't get hired by people. And like all of our peers, most of our peers, people who were trying to figure out how to get our little weird make stuff up with friends frameworks out in front of other people who might not want them in the 1990s and 2000s when there was no, as we said, PDF, blah, 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 blah. We just figured it out. We just did it. We just figured it out. And so I'm, I don't know what to say to people who are like, how do I do it? How do I break into the industry? How do I write a PBTA game? I don't know any other way to say that than say, we wrote the book. That's the best we can do. Um, but I'm terrible at working for other people. Like if someone's like, "Oh, will you write a piece for my game?" I'm like, "Oh, thank you for asking, but I'm bad at that because I'm not inside your head." Right? I might really like Aaron's work. But I couldn't write for Aaron because don't understand the same thing, right? I think it's incredibly hard to get inside someone else's head enough to write in their world. What even is that? It's so alien to me, the idea, not in like weird, whatever. It's just like it's so outside of my way of working, Vincent's and my way of working. The idea that you might have one person write the mechanics and then one person write the sort of fiction and they should somehow magically work together. Why? Anyway, so this is kind of it's a
I
bit of a
love it.
wild rant around, but I'm like, I do not understand. I have a whole other piece here, which is about um how heartbreaking I find it right now to have young people in their 20s coming to me asking about like writing their game, like they really want, like would I please look at their game? They're writing a PBTA game. And I said, yeah, sure. We can sit down. I'm happy to talk with you about that. And they're like, well, because I do have a degree in this. I should know how to do this. And my heart breaks because that means they probably also have debt. And what a crushing thing to to be in that position and like to have graduated from college with debt and a degree in game design, thinking that there's an industry out there that you can do. Like, it took me a decade to work in the field that I have a degree in. It took me 20 years from the time I was a child to the time that the Cheap and Cheesy came out. And like, I don't know, I just want more people to be like, look, you don't have to be exactly like anybody else because you're you and your creativity and your like what you put on your body in the morning and how you want to tell people, here's the best I can do. Here's my best take at how to do a violent combat. That's the best you can do. And oh my goodness.
A couple
I just
really
want
life giving things just from chat. For
Yeah.
hopefully life giving for you, but just really affirming. But I think the one that sums Roger saying everyone's got to find someone who looks at them the way that Vincent looks at Meg when she's ranting. Uh, also, people saying, "Can we 100% have the Bakers back?" to do 100 streams exactly like this. So, and then Billy says, I'm sure
That's
that
really sweet.
I'll have a ton of questions after the stream, but I wanted to say thank you for making your games and being a welcoming cornerstone of the hobby for so long. That came in even like right at the beginning of the rant, so it was even before you said all the good things.
No, I
So,
mean, I could keep going. I'm just giving you, you know, I'll keep going. But I know we're like hitting at your hour and a half mark. But I just uh wanted to touch back to what you said at the beginning, um, if I may,
mhm.
which is that all of that, the beautiful, kind things that you said at the beginning about like the work that we do. There's two things in parallel. One of them is um, the gratitude that I personally have for the two of you and everybody who might be watching or listening, and like everybody else out there who helped Vincent and I through me having cancer. Like it's a huge reciprocity. You know, there's a reason. Um, anyway, thank you.
Of course.
And the other piece is, and I wrote this down, um, facing the world with compassion, which is something you talked about at the beginning. Facing the world with compassion is a hard move. You know, and that's my hard move right now. Like it is, like as hard as I can to do that as hard as I can. Um, and it's not always easy, but that's what I do. So, um, yeah. And like I'm like, can we do this again next week?
Yeah, I mean, I'm down. We'll follow up. I mean, I would love to have y'all back on a few times this year if we can make it work, just to
Yeah,
continue the
of course,
conversation.
of course.
Like I said, I think, like for us, we really wanted to start with y'all because there is so much here, and I mean, even Doc coming in, my question about like combatant violence, there are so many people who are asking questions, and I think they're oftentimes looking for a binary response, right? Like
Mm,
as opposed to here's a dialogue, and
mm,
dialogues are harder, right? Like they
mhm,
are not as easy as, oh, here's a yes or a no. But like that again, that's the work, both in design as well as in like life, is like how can we continue to unpack these things again. Like I the reason this made so much sense to us to do is because PBTA is that kind of conversational state of play.
mhm,
I mean, most RPGs are, but with less of an intentionality around it. And moves being kind of that conversational cornerstone within the game. And again, I go back to, I just love that, like focusing on the unique intentionality of like a moment and giving it undue emphasis. Like Vincent, that rambling moment in the like that response in the rambling moment, like was so powerful to hear for what we're trying to invite people into over the course of this year. Is like that is every moment to a certain degree. Don't overanalyze your life to the point that it cripples you, but or that it restricts you. But like do be aware that like this year is a time where that we can grab onto something distinctive, and so is next year, and we have to continue to be pursuing those things. But Vincent, I feel
Yeah,
like you
yeah, yeah.
wanted to say something also too, and we got a little lost in that. What did you have?
No, that's way cooler than what I was gonna say. Like I just uh like I think that there's this fantastic game. Oh no, I'm not gonna be able to remember the creator's name. Oh no.
What's the name of the game?
It is the um collectible trading moon game.
Oh,
Oh
yeah,
no.
I got it.
Do you have
I'll get it. You can talk about it. I'll pull it up.
I was just looking at this the other day.
it is it's my new obsession, this game. I can't believe I can't remember the creator's name.
It's
That's
Um
okay.
leakyeves.itch.io is the URL.
Yeah,
There's no cover with a
oh
name on
no.
it.
it's okay,
Oh no, no,
Vincent.
no, 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 no. Meg,
Yeah,
y there's a
Eda
pay
Mendez.
Etta
Edda,
Mendez, of course, Etta Mendez. Um, I
two
was
beeps
tr
before I got it.
I was trying for Esme, but Etta Mendez. So this game, you go outside and you look at the moon, and if it's a moon you want to collect in the Pokemon sense, you do. And this beautiful moment of devoting your attention to the moment of looking at the moon.
Mm.
Um, uh, like you were just saying, Tony, like every moment in our lives could be that moment that we pay singular attention to. That is, yes, is what I'm saying. Yes, is what I'm saying.
Uh,
Yeah.
Awesome. I know it'll probably push us over time. I do have one last question that I want to ask. This is just a practical one I
Please.
want to end on. But Aaron, do you have anything you want to touch on before that?
No.
Um, uh, if you had to give, and I know we've hit a lot of it, but like if you had to try to say practically for people who are maybe going to sit down and try to make a move this year, just an individual standalone move, whether like, and we've always told people like if it's for a
Yeah, yeah.
game, that's great. If it's whatever, as they're sitting down to think about it for the first time, outside of structure, outside of format, like do you have, or if it's format, that's whatever. I'm not, I mean, like that's great too. Like do you have advice or encouragement you would give them as they're starting to think about that?
I absolutely do. Um, what I do with every single move is I actually have a list of tricks, but I'm going to tell you two of them. Um, I think what if until I'm out of conventionality. Um, what if this is somebody else's choice? What if what if what if I choose what doesn't happen instead of what does happen? Whatever the domain is, I'm always thinking, what if this was, what if it worked the opposite way? What if it worked the impossible way? What if it worked the way that everybody tells me it can't work? Or what if it works a way that I just haven't thought of, until I can find a way to find an angle on it that is not the angle I approached it with originally. Um, And I guess the other one is a version of that, which is to reverse who's making the decision. Always consider asking somebody a question instead of making a decision yourself. Always consider that.
Mm-hmm.
Meg, what do you think of this moon?
Of the moon?
Yeah, like instead of a move where I get to make decisions about the moon, a
Mm-hmm.
move that prompts me to ask you what you think about the moon.
Yeah. And my answer would be for every move, if you're making a move, make sure that you can think of at least three different situations in which it's applicable. I think one of the things that can be easy for people making, designing moves for PBTA games is that they get smaller and smaller scope of the move. So if you can't think of three different situations, three different ways that this move could be used, could be applicable, maybe see what can be adjusted so that it can be applicable in different ways.
Awesome. Excellent. People also said if they're able to toss in compliments without question. Doc's wife asked for a sexy, dangerous game to be played at her birthday party this year.
My goodness!
He picked.
My goodness!
He picked The King is Dead, and it was an
No,
absolute
even
grand
better.
slam. Everybody loved it, especially her. Thank you for the
Okay,
Fantastic.
I love that. That's wonderful.
What game were you excited about it being?
For the next birthday, she should definitely play In Dreaming Avalon.
In Dreaming Avalon. There we go.
In Dreaming Avalon, you are Shakespearean fairies and Arthurian knights having a meet cute in the park, and maybe there's kissing.
I love it. Aaron, any final thoughts?
No, I'm tired.
Was this everything you wanted to be and more, Aaron?
Sorry.
Yeah, no, this is great. When Vincent was like, when I did MC moves, I just wrote down everything I do. Um, like that's something I'm going to take with me because we're talking about, if you don't want to do a Mad Lib, if you don't want to take someone's framework and erase parts and fill it in, the idea of just trying to write down like your personal practice, I think is such a good place to start making a game. But
for sure.
I think it is really scary as someone who grew up, for instance, in a small town and had very limited knowledge about how things could be and how they might work, to say, just go out and do it. Go do
Yeah.
your own thing is really hard for a
Yeah.
lot of people who came from, with some limited way of thinking. And so I think the idea of finding a way to like inspect your own thinking process and get it on a page is such a fun and powerful way to just start making a game. And so I don't know if you said it flippantly, but I'm just gonna be thinking for the rest of the night. I'm just gonna
Oh,
write down everything I do, everything I know
Hmm.
how to
oh
do.
my.
Yes.
Okay, this is. Can I tell one last story before we
Yeah.
go? Meg and I wrote a game called Bedlam Beautiful, and it has received very limited publication, and probably nobody's heard of it, and that's fine. Maybe someday it will get a big release, but it is a game about emotional violence, and uh, the way the game works is that I'm the system and the disease, and you are pursuing happiness. And so I'm looking at Meg. Meg is big on my screen right now, so I'm going to address Meg. So Meg will say something like, "Look, I just want you to bring me flowers because you thought of me." And then I choose from a list. Yeah, I can do that, but it was my idea. Or, yeah, I can do that, but you should flatter me. Or, so I spent 2 weeks, two intensive weeks, thinking about every single shitty little thing I do and just listing every single shitty little thing oh my God, it was worth doing. It was a valuable experience.
And then he never did any of them again.
I never did a single one of them ever again.
That's right. Excellent. It was so great to have you on. Really would love to have you back. So we'll follow up about that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
This has been so great. Stick around for a second afterwards, also too, because I do have a couple questions for y'all.
Sure thing.
Once we're in private, no one else can, no prying eyes can hear us. But Chad also said, Keegan specifically, Vincent, you can tell us 20 more stories. Everyone here is set.
We should like story time with the Bakers and
That's
just
right.
like Meg and Vincent tell stories for an hour.
That's right. But then Hexa also said they're playing Apocalypse World for the first time at Cap Con, and now they're really looking forward to it. But they said,
Awesome.
They said if it's bad, they'll make a shit post game about it. So don't worry.
Okay, good.
Great.
Good,
That's
good.
awesome. I hope we don't see it, but I do hope you make a shit post game
Hey,
sometime.
it could be a shit post game about how a experience of playing at a con.
Where did I?
About,
Oh well.
yeah, either way, this has been great. A couple final notes. If you have not gone over to check out yet, you can go to ttrpg.link/make-moves-jam or head over to itch and just search Make Moves Jam. We have had 2 entries into the Make Moves Jam so far. One for Max Lander's Odd Folk, some additional background and move options for that, as well as one that's just moves about trauma, and it's included in games that you don't play with moves, and it's a really cool thing that Jeff did. I know, Low Guppy, I know one of those is yours and you're watching right now. If you tell me which one it is, I'll shout you out specifically. But if you're not familiar with what the Make Moves Jam is, it is just our invitation during the course of this year to reflect on your life this moment, and design a move for a game you love, for a game that doesn't exist, a move that is a game in and of itself, a move that's just a reflection on where you're at in your life. I work at a coffee shop. I will post this picture on our Blue Sky later. Our coffee roaster, which this is not supposed to be able to happen, caught fire earlier today and has to be completely replaced. I'll post the video for it later, but I was like, yeah, this is a move. Like this moment is not something I expected to have to deal with today or have happen. It's actually going to be 2 different moves, but it had me thinking all afternoon and finally pushed me into the place of, I know a move I want to create. It's not for a game. It's just a thing I'm making about starting a fire. But I'm super excited to sit down and make it. So check that out. Submit them all year long. This is not a do something every day. This is a do something intentional challenge for 2026, along with the desire to think about this moment in your life and what you want to be intentional about, and irrevocable things that you want to do in your life. So there's a free zine that Aaron wrote that you can get. There's hats, and other merch that we'll have up on the website eventually. I don't know, we're bad about that kind of stuff. If you want to play more games and want to check things out, also if you want to support everything that we do at Plus One EXP, the best thing you can do is go to RPGZine.Club and check it out. Every month we put out 2 new games from emerging creators. One's got more of an adventure vibe, one's got more of a narrative and story game vibe. All those things are a little bit flexible depending on the game itself and how it's written and the voice behind it. But you can check that out at RPGZine.Club. We work with new and emerging creators primarily, but you'll find other little hidden gems in there. It's a great way for their games to get into publication and play without having to go to crowdfunding. So if you want to go check that out, help support what we do, that's at RPGZine.Club. Meg Vincent, if people want to follow your work and what you do, where can they find that?
You can follow us on Patreon. Vincent and I are both on Blue Sky. And is there anywhere else? We have a couple of different
our blog
Discords.
is at lumpley.games.
Mm-hmm.
You can read our articles and find our games there.
Awesome. Aaron, how about you?
No, just go to Lumpley. Lumpley.net. That's such a is it .games now? Didn't it used to be .net?
Yeah, it did.
There's a lumpley.com and a lumpley.games.
Okay.
I don't know about
And a
lumpley.net.
patreon.com/lumpley.
Somebody parking
I found a secret trove. No, but that blog is such a trove of articles that I revisit all the time. So that's all I want to promote.
Awesome, thank you.
Oh, thanks, Aaron.
On Friday and Saturday, we're sitting down with Epidiah to play Swords Without Master, which is finally getting its own standalone release. So you will not have to go to Worlds Without Master issue 3 to find it.
Wait. Okay, wait.
Hold on.
Okay, wait.
Hold on.
Okay, wait. I mean, I know that's great. Like, we're all in favor of Swords Without Master getting a standalone release. I have a short story in Worlds Without Master issue 3, and I've been hearing for years how people do not want to buy it. So, boo.
I'll see what I can do as far as talking Epi and Nathan into stretch goals for this. Or we can find a place to reprint that article with other content attached to it just for you, Vincent. But we're playing that on Friday night and Saturday morning. Saturday is my birthday, so come celebrate my birthday with me playing that game. And then our next episode of Show Me Your Moves is going to be at the end of this month with Ray and Jody from Sword Queen Games. And so we're super excited to sit down with Ray and talk about the work that they've done as well, and their attempts to make moves, or their attempts and success. And then we've got a weird schedule this month because we've got a couple conventions, but we're going to have a lot of Zemo content. That's Zine Month coming up. Zine Month is not tied to any platform. It is just a reminder that during the month of February, a lot of us across a whole bunch of different platforms fund games, release games, and do a whole lot of other stuff with games. Charlie, Ferguson, Avery, and I are sitting down to kind of talk about it. Generally, next week, we've got a whole host of people are going to do anything you want to know about Zine Month, but we're afraid to ask episode. And then we're going to do a lot about layout and design and how you can start thinking about layout from the time you put pen to paper or start typing into a Word document to make it a little bit easier once you finally get to that phase as part of our learning seminars this year for Zine Month. We're also going to have 4 games as part of Zine Month that we're dropping. So keep an eye on all that stuff over on our mailing list. That's a whole lot of announcements right at the end, but we got a whole lot of great stuff going on here at Plus One. Joining our email list is the best place to stay up to date on any of those. You can find that at plus1exp.com. And then join us at the end of the month for the next episode of Show Me Your Moves. We don't have a good ending, but thank you all so much for being here, both Chat and the Bakers and Aaron. All my favorite people.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.